Good morning. We'll convene the Public Protection and Judiciary Committee. And we don't have public comment this morning, so we'll go directly to our roll call. And we have Supervisor Leaf, Supervisor Adams, myself. Supervisor Ramberg is excused, and Supervisor Carlson is excused. So we'll have some, today is our day that we're going to be doing a jail inspection. We do that annually. And so we'll begin the meeting with by calling on Sheriff Knudsen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. Each year, by statute, we have to do an annual inspection with our parent committee with the public protection. Per Wisconsin State Statute 59.54, parent 15, at least once each year, the board of each county or a committee thereof shall visit, inspect, and examine each jail maintained by the county as to health, cleanliness, and discipline. And the keeper of the jail shall lay before the board or the committee a calendar setting forth the name, age, and cause of committal of each prisoner. If it appears to the board or committee that any provisions of law have been violated or neglected, the board or the committee shall immediately give notice of the violation to the district attorney of the county. That is the statutory reading of what is required of this group and of myself in regards to the jail. So today is going to be as much of meeting the statutory requirement as well as it is going to be, I hope, educational as we discuss classification. We will hit those areas of the jail where we've made improvements that we would like to highlight, as well as any other areas within the facility that you wish to see. But mainly I'd like to, again, as we walk through, discuss the classification. And as I've mentioned, we've talked about that. That's highlighted in jail inspections. So I'd like to give this committee an idea of what we mean by classification. I know that there has been some high-level information on how we separate inmates, medium, minimum, max, genders, and a number of others in some of the paperwork that's been provided over the past year. But Captain Joel Cormanick is going to delve into that a bit more. Also on the tour today is going to be Chief Deputy Standard, who has been very instrumental in a lot of information sharing on potential future expansion for the jail. And also Taylor Mabus with Facilities is going to accompany us on that. There were several packets that were given out that you have with you, and those have also been given to Janet to put into the record. But the 2025 annual inspection by the state jail inspector has been added or given out. That's the 2025 one. But I've also added 2022, 2023, and 2024 jail inspections. And each year, the jail inspector, Brad Hoover, has noted in there about receiving cells, special housing units, the population, and the concerns for proper classification. And with our facility, some of the limitations. Again, it was built in 1990 and things have changed. It wasn't built with any intent to not follow any of the DOC 350 codes, but times have evolved and things have changed. So I've added, along with this year's, the last four, and kind of highlighted on the back so you don't have to read the whole thing. You can if you wish, but I highlighted those areas where he notes that, just because in this year he's a little more direct of, I've brought this up over the last couple of years and it continues to be an issue. Where are we going with it? So I just wanted to lay that out, that it has been talked about. There's also a packet that was given out and put together by Lieutenant Cormanick, and it's going to go over the classification and again how we get there, each inmate that comes in, and the steps taken by staff and what we look at, and that those classifications may also change over time depending upon activity within this facility. So at this time, if there's any questions for me, if not, I'm going to turn it over to Captain. Did I call you Lieutenant once? You did call me. I'm sorry. Captain Joe Cormanick to explain the classification that we utilize for inmates as they're booked and housed in the jail. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Good morning, supervisors. How are you? All right. So classification, as the sheriff alluded to, has kind of been a plaguing concern for the jail, our physical plant, and housing inmates appropriately. It's been brought up multiple times. Just basic correctional operations, a classification system is a systematic process for correctional facilities to categorize inmates based upon risk factors, needs, programs, a bunch of factors. There's plenty of them that are out there. Our biggest goal in maintaining a correctional facility is safety and security. Classification aims to separate those inmates based upon the risks, the likelihood of violence, possible escape, and other security breaches that could occur inside of our facility at any given time. Biggest thing is grouping the inmates in the same classification in the same housing units or more supervised with more staff are factors. So the biggest things that we look at, we do have 3 main classifications within the jail: minimums, mediums, and maximums. Huber does fall under the minimum classification because they are community-based programming, that they are going out into the community. They have to meet certain requirements that will allow them to go out there without a chance of, we assess a lot more with reoffending, substance issues. We have them on GPS monitoring. There is a higher level of security to make sure that, they are our minimum inmates, but they are going out to the community, but they're still under the authority, the sheriff has authority of them. Basically, so, we do an initial classification. So if you look at one form here, every inmate will do a face-to-face interview at the time of booking. So they're going to meet with the booking officer. They're going to go over the charges, why they're in jail, any concerns we might note while they're there, if they're intoxicated, if they are displaying mental health issues, whatnot. These are going to come into the initial classification that's going to be done at the booking. We also can go dive deeper into criminal history, past incarcerations that they have, and then we determine an appropriate housing unit within the jail if we are moving them out of the receiving area. If they need to stay in the receiving area, we're going to be having more concerns for mental health, substance withdrawal, and whatnot. But that happens. We'll change the inmate out and move them down to general population housing. At that time, if they're here longer than 30 days, we have to reclassify them to make sure that we're going to look at all the factors of the incarceration that may be happening. So we're going to look at any incident reports within the jail, something that might not classify as up to a case report where we need to put it, criminal charges or whatnot could come out of it, but notes for our staff of how the behavior is and whatnot. We do this after 30 days and then determine if they stay in the medium category where they can go, or if they're going to go down to the minimum, to the dorm room setting. That's how the jail's laid out, as you guys are aware. Maximums, if you're breaking the rules within inside the jail, you're going to get reclassified to a maximum. You're going to be confined to your cell longer than the general population will. We'll also try to handle it with other sanctions of lockdown time, removal of good time, privileges, etc. So we reclassify inmates after a certain amount of time. Maximums can request an earlier reclass after 15 days with us. And the other issues too, as you saw the subclassifications, yeah, they may be a medium inmate or general population inmate, but look at all the other factors that we have to take into effect. Do they have some mental health concerns? Do they identify differently? There's just multiple factors. So basically, we have a challenge on our hands based off of our layout, our current layout of the jail. Some people are not appropriate to go down to general population based off their charge, or down to minimum off their charges, but we can look into factors and then we can do what's called an override, and where That's done by a supervisor's approval after we review all the factors of the classification, and we can override the system and move someone if necessary. After the jail inspection, we did notice that there were ones down in our Huber area that were, I have people that, intoxicated use, homicide by intoxicated use of a vehicle, right? It's still a homicide by statute, but they have never been an issue in the jail. They've never once been disrespectful to staff. They have never fought an inmate. There's certain factors that we play into that actually can classify them lower and less restrictive housing. They're still within the secure facility, obviously. But yeah, we just have a lot of challenges, and we're just trying to minimize disturbances, reduce violence, and also ensure safety and security of the facility. So it's a challenge. And then the last thing I did pull together for you guys was a reclassification screen, as you can see right here. These are the factors of what we see on our program that allow us to appropriately reclassify. This individual is actually under a maximum, he's a max inmate right now. So as you can see from being in custody here, the amount of disciplinary actions taken against the inmate, the charges he's in, like he's only here on drug paraphernalia and bail jumping. But as we can see, that would make him an initial classification of a medium. But this is the kind of behavior we deal with all day, every day here. He completely causes disturbances, violates jail rules, as you can see. He made it 3 days as a medium before 4 days before he made it to a max, just based off behavior. So these are the factors that we deal with, and if we had appropriate housing, we could separate them a lot easier than what we deal with right now. So that's kind of what I got. Did you have any other questions?
How often do you reclass? I suppose it depends on the person, but typically how many reclasses do you do in a day?
Oh, so what's great about our program is it goes off of the booking date. So every person that's booked, if I had it up, I'd show you, there's probably some pending right now that need to be their initial reclass, but every single person that would come in that day would get classified with an initial classification. And then after 30 days, if they're still here, the program will automatically alert us that they are due for a reclassification. Yes, sir.
So at the time that the jail was built back in the 90s, these kinds of incidences were not that great of a problem, that the design was not made so that it could accommodate the kinds of issues?
I don't think that the problems weren't there. I just think that correctional philosophy and supervision of inmates has taken quite a different approach now to making sure it's not, hey, lock these people up and throw them away the key anymore. It's treat them with dignity and respect. And also we're trying to make sure that their incarceration is as safe as possible. Mm-hmm. We're not here to do anything like that. Coming from prison experience, it was a lot rougher of a place at Stillwater Prison in the 90s than it is now. There's guidelines. This kind of stuff it's not new, but it is a bigger push for safety and security.
So in the new jail that we're looking at down the line, it will be built to accommodate these kinds of things better?
Correct.
Okay.
And what we found for success in that is actually smaller units, smaller areas. If you've seen as you've been on our tour before, you see our general population, like A and B block, are 24 inmates. Mm-hmm. If I'm putting someone in there that is having a severe mental health issue and disturbing the unit, tensions are gonna start to rise,
right,
and issues start to occur. So smaller units is actually the approach that we want, and it's going to help maintain security a lot better.
Thank you.
I have no further questions. No further. So I guess at this point, unless there are further comments from the sheriff?
Yes, thank you, Captain Cormanek. And to Supervisor Adams' point in question, yeah, the evolution of corrections from, yes, we opened in 93, but the plans are probably in place in 91. We're looking at 34 years ago. It wasn't only until 2020 when we put in those 9 special housing units for those special needs. I do believe that mental health, substance abuse, It has really amped and ramped over the last couple of years. Well, over the last decade, I should say. And I think as lawsuits have come down the road, not necessarily here, but in others with staff assaults, inmate assaults, inappropriate classifications, we've seen that throughout the state over the years. I think some of that drives the moves towards more safety to those inmates and staff. And as part of one of the packets that I gave, there's a large number of sheets in there of the current inmate roster. I think we're at 122 today, in-house 122. So there's a large packet led by name, age, and reason for incarceration. And I believe that meets at least the statutory requirement of what we're, one of the things that we're looking at today. So, Mr. Chair.
And Chair, part of the reason why I asked that question is as we look at and plan for this new facility, that we give you what you need and we don't cut 10%, and we end up not being able to get the full use out of the building to address the issues that the captain has to deal with every day, him and his staff. So, yeah.
If there are no other comments, thank you again, Captain Cormanic and Sheriff, for those introductory remarks. And at this point, we'll recess the committee and we'll be going on the annual jail tour and we'll adjourn from there. So with that, we're in recess and thank you for being here this morning.